couple $100,000 or millions of dollars a month, you can literally reduce your credit card fees by 40, 50%.
Welcome to the Financial Innovations Podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Villani. We're helping CFOs save money and time by investing in cutting-edge technology. Really excited today to have Allen Kopelman on the show with us. Allen, great to have you on.
Oh, thank you, Daniel. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, so we've talked a lot about different technologies that businesses can invest in to save money. We've talked to a bunch of CFOs in terms of what are areas they look at to save money. And, very rarely do I hear, CFOs talking about payments. So I'm very excited to have you on, Allen. If you want to maybe just tell us a little bit about, your company, what you guys do, and, then we could just get into some of the ways that, CFOs can streamline their payment process.
So I started Nationwide Payment Systems back in 2001. And, in the beginning of time, we were just selling a lot of credit card machines. And as, things started to change, you got to change. So my favorite books, Who Moved the Cheese? And kind of, you got to think about that all the time. And, I used to think about it once a year, then it became twice a year. Now it's constant. So technology is moving at the quickest pace I've ever seen it move before. And, there are definitely ways for businesses to save money. And our approach is not like a cookie cutter approach, like a Stripe or a Square. We're more of like, we'll customize a solution for your business. So based on like what type of business you have, how you take money, whether it's invoicing online, we look at all of that and then show you like, okay, here's our suggestions from based on what you're telling us. And it's, it's important for people that, there's all kinds of ways to save money, but you also have to remember time is money. And, like we'll see companies using very outdated point of sale systems. And so a lot of things have been sunsetted and people will still be using it. And then all of a sudden they run into a huge problem and they go, what do we do? This thing doesn't work and there's no more support.
Right. What I see happen in many cases, and this is, kind of universal depending on the technology you're using, whether it's a point of sale, whether it's just a general ERP, whether it's, any kind of system, is company will buy it, they'll implement it, they'll see how much it costs to implement it. And then they'll say, all right, we're never doing this again because this cost us, an insane amount of money. And then over time, they'll look and say, yeah, there are probably better features and newer software out here now, but do we really want to go and spend the money, going and overhauling the entire system versus just keeping what we have? Then they end up keeping what they have. And, they don't realize, to your point of, time is money, of, if it works, but it's still less efficient than what it can be, there's obviously a cost to that.
Oh, definitely there's a cost, but also like a lot of things like Microsoft RMS has been sunsetted. QuickBooks point of sale has been sunsetted. We'll have business. We had a big business. They're doing over $1 million a month. They're using QuickBooks point of sale. They waited until the thing was hanging on by a thread. And then we replaced it with NCR Counterpoint. And we just did the same thing in another business. They were using the Microsoft product.
Right. And usually it's, when you hang on to that software a little bit too long and you don't realize that you probably should have switched until something breaks and you can't get support for it. So, it's just, just goes to show how it's always better to just be proactive. And yeah, it costs money to replace things. It costs, time to replace things, but, you have to look at the overall, cost benefit analysis of, what happens if I can roll the dice on something that's not supported anymore, but there's going to come a day when I'm going to learn the hard way that I should have switched off of it.
Yeah. And then other ways, people can save money is, let's say, you're in a retail, card present where it's face to face. You can implement a surcharge program where that's just where credit cards are charged, but no, you pay the fees on debit, or you can do dual pricing, or they call it cash discount. Everything's like the 0% programs. And, in those programs, dual pricing, that's the one that is the most compliant. You basically show customers this is the credit price and the cash price, or you say this is the credit price and we offer a discount for cash. And, even like some states like New York and New Jersey have implemented rules on that. So you have to sort of follow their rules if you're in those states. But, it can be done in all 50 states. And then, you have companies that basically send out invoices like professional services companies like accountants, attorneys, business consultants, different, any type of business that's sending out an invoice. And you can create, like, we have ways you can do like what I call no code billing portal. And you can we customize a portal with your logo on it. Literally takes about 5 minutes. It's hysterical. Take a button, stick it on your website. They get their bill, click here. And when they go to pay, it gives them the choice. Oh, do you want to pay with credit card or do you want to pay with ACH? So to reduce costs, you can say, okay, well, we're going to charge 2% or 3% or 3.5% for our credit cards, and then we're gonna give you free ACH and reduce. If you're doing a couple 100,000 or millions of dollars a month, you can literally reduce your credit card fees by 40-50%, and and be you know and be more, whatever. People laugh. They go, how much will somebody pay? I said, we've seen people pay 250 grand and put it on a credit card and pay the fee happily because they want the miles.
Right, right. Yeah, no, it's funny. It's funny because I see a lot of that, but also what you were just saying about. So I live in New York, so I remember when they started with the whole different prices for credit cards versus cash, and here you can't charge somebody more because they have a credit card, so they had to frame it as it's a cash discount. It's a discount if you pay cash versus a fee that you pay for paying on a credit card over here. There's all sorts of rules, like you were saying, everywhere. And it's to our CFOs and businesses out there. Do you want to be in the business of having to monitor what state is going to allow what kind of verbiage there versus having some kind of a system that's automatically going to do that for you?
Well, and also, a lot of businesses, if they're in multiple states, and you're a really big business, you're in multiple states, you're probably going to opt for more to do surcharging so that you don't have to deal with, the different rules of different states. Even recently, California passed a law on this click to cancel. So businesses who have recurring transactions have to have a click to cancel button on their website. And then as soon as they did that, I think 2 weeks later, the FTC, which kind of had advice on doing click to cancel, came out and said, no, here's the rule for click to cancel. And Visa and MasterCard have kind of had that rule, but never really enforced it. But now it's going to be enforced. So businesses need to be like, we make sure, businesses are operating in a compliant manner no matter where they are.
Right. Right. I mean, because there's also, we talked about a little bit about, saving money by ACH versus credit card and so forth. But, there's a cost to not being compliant where you get hit with, some crazy fines over there. And you may not even it may not be that, you're trying to skirt around the rules. You just may not know them because, you don't know all of the rules and laws that are, state by state, countrywide, out there versus having a system that just is updated with that stuff constantly as these rules and laws are changing, that it just handles all that information for you.
Yeah, it's important, to businesses, understand like what needs to be done. So it's, and also, like say, when you talk about also like saving money, when you talk about, let's say like e-commerce businesses, you know, you need to, as an e-commerce business, you need to make sure like you're really effectively communicating with your customers and they know the shipping times. You have a phone number on your website, you're easy to contact because it's so easy for people to do a chargeback, kind of like whatever COVID pandemic, kind of like the banks kind of now just have like a button. Oh, you want to do a chargeback? So you want to have make sure that you have ways for them to customers to contact you, cut down on chargebacks. And then if you're doing a large volume, it's really important to, institute different chargeback, like a chargeback service where you can do RDR, which gives an automatic refund. You can have it based on a ticket size or get alerts so that you have an alert and then you can call the customer. I see a chargeback. Oh, Daniel's charging back. Let's call him and see how we can remedy the situation. Can we issue him a refund, or did he already get a refund, or maybe he hasn't called us? We don't know what the problem is. Yeah, you really have to watch your business of what's going on in your business, because with you get too many chargebacks, that's costly also.
Right. Yeah, no, that's a great point. So I guess, if you're a CFO, business owner, and you're looking to see, okay, what are some of the things they should be looking for to say, you know, maybe I should be looking at a different type of system, whether it's, a point of sale system or, maybe a service like what you're offering there as well. Like what are some of the indicators that, hey, we should maybe look into this further.
I mean, I think you have to look at, especially today, you have to look at like trends of like, okay, do we take Apple Pay? Do we have Google, we have Google Pay? Do we have the ability to do a tap and pay? Do we have this ability? And sometimes there's pushback from the employees, but it's also, what do your customers want? Do they want to have, they want to pay with those cards, Apple Pay? Well, you need to make sure you have the proper devices in place to do that. And that's just what you have to look out for. A lot of people don't understand, like they'll be using a service like Stripe or Square or QuickBooks, and I always tell people, I says, they don't necessarily always give you a statement, you know. So like did a blog post the other day, how to figure out how much you pay, right? So you just like add everything up, what they deducted out. A lot of times, like I said, there's no statement, but you have to go look online and go, okay, here's how much they deducted out. This are my sales. You take the first number and divide it by the sales, what you spent divided by sales. That gives you your effective rate. And people are sometimes surprised. You should be, for the average business, they should be between 2% and 2.5% overall, unless you're running a 0% program. And then that can be, then you have to figure out like, oh, what's my business type, what's my business flow, and things like that. Like a lot of companies take credit cards over the phone, and one of the things I try to explain to them, like I said, instead of taking it over the phone, there's other options. Send the customer a payment link, but let's say you're selling something for thousands of dollars, you need to use something like a DocuSign or PandaDoc or whatever, any Adobe Sign, whatever you have, and send them a form and your agreement so that they electronically sign it. And they're like, "Oh, I don't want to spend that money." And I'm like, "It's like, do you already have Adobe? That's probably included, or do you already, you can go to a lower cost like PandaDoc's very basic. It's probably like $20 or $30 a month, or there's other ones. And then you get an electronic signature, which is considered legal by the courts. So if someone tries to do a chargeback or says it wasn't them, you have their and those services people don't realize, they're picking up the IP address, they're matching it with the person's name and the email address, and they decide, okay, does this all belong together or not?
Right, right. Yeah, it's not just a signature that happens that could have come from another country that than the person's living in, and all that kind of stuff there as well.
Yeah, or somebody else signed it, not the owner,
Right,
or
right,
there's
right.
fraud. People have to think about like, hey, how can I take technology and put that to work in my business, and you know that could save you a lot of time. Just like also we have companies that do like recurring payments, and I was helping this one company and they do about 500 recurring payments a month, and every month they're having to key them in one at a time. So we showed them, here's some software that we, one of the products we have, it creates like a database of your customers. You can go in, you say, okay, Daniel has to make 7 payments of $500 every 2 weeks. Mark has to do $1,000 a month for the next 8 months, whatever that is, and you plug it in, and it's set it and forget it.
Yeah, no, that's great, and it's definitely been extremely beneficial having you on the show over here. This is not necessarily a topic we've talked a lot about, and just encourage our audience out there to like, comment, subscribe to our channel here, so we could get other great guests like you, Alan, on the show. There are a bunch of follow-up questions I have to this piece over here, but I think that you've mentioned a bunch of things that I find really interesting. One is just in terms of chargebacks, and it's not necessarily just a hey, what's my cost to do business in terms of what am I paying for my payment systems versus whatever. There's the aspect of what chargebacks are happening, and another way we can save money is if we can cut out some of these chargebacks that are happening.
Yeah, it's not just about cutting them out. It's like looking at your policies. How can you improve that? And if you do get it, you can't stop people from doing a chargeback. But what you can do is you can put the ball, you can move the needle to your side by having them sign something or checking a box on the checkout of your website. I'm sure like you buy stuff online. A lot of times you probably don't see a checkbox. Oh, I agree to the terms and conditions. Yeah, you really, businesses need to have check boxes and for certain things or maybe even certain products like, oh, there's a sale and they checked it, it's all sales are final. So those are ways you have to look at how those type of things, your procedures can cut down on, but help you win if you do get a charge back. Same thing with the electronic signature.
Right, right. So is there like a metric that, companies should be looking at in terms of like, if your chargebacks are greater than, X% of whether it's sales or some other metric that, you should take a deeper dive into into your policies?
Well, chargebacks, you're not supposed to exceed a 0.5%. Yeah, so and that's on volume, based on your sales volume to dollar volume chargeback. But also, you have to look. You did 100 transactions. A 0.5%, one is 1%. You really can't look at it that way. You just have to kind of look like, okay, how many, if I'm getting a bunch more, getting a lot, then okay, well, what can we do to prevent them? Then if you're doing everything you can to prevent them, then you just make sure that you're winning. You're responding to them and you're winning.
Yeah, so it sounds like it's a matter of, yes, there's some metrics over there. They can be skewed a little bit depending on, the volume that you're doing, whether you're doing a smaller quantity or, larger quantity over there. But, if you're looking at your total chargebacks and you say, hey, this seems like it's, a little bit higher or, much higher than what I would think, then, that's a good indicator that you should look into, your policies of, are you making your product chargeback friendly, or are you protecting yourself and your business from having too much?
Like I did a study with a client that had a $29 product and they're getting a lot of chargebacks and they kept fighting them. I go, what are you guys doing? You got an hourly employee spending probably half an hour writing a letter for each one, maybe 20 minutes if they're good. Okay. And then you're sending it in and the customer is winning 50% of the time. Just do RDR, reverse the charge back to the person. They're going to feel better. They're not going to be cursing about your company, right? Because you got to remember reputation management too, right? And then give those that employee, or I had one guy, they were using like 3 employees. I go, look at how much money you're spending fighting these tic tacky 19 and $29 chargebacks. Yeah, just give them back their money and then block them out of your system so they can't re-register, block their IP, their email, their phone number. Boom, that customer's done. And you don't have to deal with them again. Instead of fighting with them, just let them get their money back. And a lot of businesses just like have to wrap their head around it. Like, oh, a human, just saying like, oh, am I going to spend all this money fighting these small charges? No, just give it the money back.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you raised a great point there about reputation management too. Is that even if you won 100% of the time that you fought the chargebacks, it's not going to change reviews and things that people are going to leave online, things that they're going to say about your company, all of that. Where sometimes it's just better to say, you know what, make the customer happy and just give it back to them.
Well, it depends on obviously the size of the transaction. You sold somebody a $5,000 item, that's not, you're not going to just swallow that. You just have to kind of gauge it by like, oh, how much is the charge?
Yeah, are there? Do you typically have any particular like thresholds in place on like when you would recommend fighting the chargeback versus like when it is and isn't worth it, or is it dependent on just the different price points that the company has of their products?
Yeah, more about price points and how many chargebacks they're getting. A lot of merchants, just a lot of them look at price point. They go, okay, this is a low price point. We don't want to fight with these people. We would probably if they asked us for the money back, we would probably give it to them. But the customers have to. I think they should give businesses more of a chance than they really do. But and then sometimes there's the customer might have had their credit card stolen, and then they're doing a chargeback because somebody, there's a bunch of charges that are rung up. And then that's, unfortunately, that's a big thing today. There's a lot of identity theft out there. I mean, every day you see another website's been compromised, your email address, your info, your phone number.
Yeah. I get letters in the mail probably every like 2 weeks that something else was hacked and they may or may not have this information about me and all that kind of stuff.
Everybody's info's out there at
Right,
this
right,
point. I mean, your info, your name, your phone number,
right.
your email, they say, oh, go change your passwords. I mean, I think at some point in time, I've talked about this on my podcast before. I'm like, I don't understand why, like, Google and Microsoft and whoever does emails, and the same thing with cell phones. They need to just like use like either ID.me or Clear or something and go, okay, you need to take whatever emails you have and they all need to be registered through one of these, ID verification softwares, and that's it. And then, if you're using unregistered emails, let's say you want to do an email blast and you have 50 email accounts, register them all, right? So now it's registered to you. They know who you are. They know who your business is. And then if you're not, that would get rid of all the spam, all the phishing, all the cyber crime that we read about. All these, yeah, people get I get probably 20 text messages a week of, oh, click here. Oh, we owe you some money. A package is lost.
Right, right. Or your boss needs a gift card, send it over here.
Right. Yeah. Oh, someone sent you a gift card. Click here. And then you're clicking on a nefarious link,
Right.
and all of a sudden, somebody, getting onto your phone and stealing all your passwords. And it's crazy.
But then we wouldn't have all these companies in place to restore your good name and your computers and all that stuff.
I don't know about that. I think the losses are in the multi billions of dollars of money that's literally like stolen from people. And I never get it. Like there's a guy on YouTube with like blue hair and he's like the ultimate hacker guy, Mark something. And he hacks all these Indian phone rooms and everything. Well, if he can do it, I don't see why the NSA can't just shut all those places down and just stop all this fraud that's happening. And it's not just here; it's worldwide. It's out of control.
Yeah, no, that I mean, there's a lot that probably should be done that that isn't over there. But I guess in terms of chargebacks due to fraud or anything like that in general, are there kind of provisions and things that companies can put in place in order to minimize their exposure in the event that someone's credit card is stolen and it's used to buy one of their products?
Yeah, I mean, online, obviously, it's all, I mean, in person, it's not going to work. I mean, someone comes up to your machine, they're sticking the chip in and it doesn't work. Don't key enter the card. Boom, you're done, cut and dry. Get out of here. But online, you got to look for little telltale signs. These people are not, I don't want to say they're not smart, but they're sometimes pretty, pretty crafty. The name will look fake. They'll have the address will be one address and the shipping address is somewhere else, or like people want you to ship stuff to a mailbox address, a mailbox store or a UPS store. That's a big red light right there. I mean, you see, I tell, like, we have high volume e-com merchants and they use software that identifies like, hey, this is a nefarious address. Or we have other e-com merchants that sell certain things like collectible baseball, like they sell baseball cards, which used to be super popular, and Pokemon cards, right? So they instituted a policy. We only ship to the billing address. They stopped shipping to other addresses because they had too much. Because, an item like that is easy to disappear, and obviously someone can resell it and things like that. But you want to make sure you're not getting, we see people all the time. They'll call me up. Oh, I got this order, and we looked up the address, and it's a field. I'm like, come on, dude. You don't let and they're going to come in and pick up the item. No, don't let them. When they come there, ask them. Say, we see your driver's license, the credit card, and then run it through the machine. You can't. You have to be. You have to be savvy. You have to train. You have to sit your employees down and train them. The same thing. Like, we talk to our employees all the time in the office. Hey, you get an email. You don't know who it's from. If you think you need to show it to me, show it to me. If not, just delete it. Like, we don't want you opening up any. I get fake DocuSigns every day. It's crazy.
Yeah, me too. I mean, it's just the amount out there, and I guess these guys just figure it's a numbers game and send it out to 100 million people, and you're gonna get that one person that's or several people that are gonna click on it. Um,
And it's the holidays now too. Like, we had a guy the other day that have a cigar shop. Somebody ordered like 10 humidors. Okay, call them on. They know what to do. Call the person on the phone. The person didn't answer. They don't hear back from them. They void by the end of the day. They just void the transaction. They take it out of they save it where it's authorized only, but they don't run it through because they don't want to deal with a chargeback from that. And sometimes they'll run a car, so you have to make sure you see like an extra large order, especially holiday times or anytime during the year. Those could be, nefarious if that's not your typical order size.
right, right. Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. Going back to something that you were talking about before in terms of fees from accepting different payment types, whether it's Apple Pay, Google Pay, credit card, ACH. I know that that you mentioned that you can implement different service charges based on platform you're using. Um, are there typical, I guess, things that you recommend in terms of, should everybody be accepting every kind of payment, just because, this is the new trending thing? Or are there ones that, you probably get hit a little bit harder if you do versus others that, you may want to stay away from?
Well, anything involving credit cards is all good. So, definitely, like, if you're not taking Apple Pay and Google Pay, there's probably a group of people out there, especially young people, that they don't walk around with a wallet. Everything is on their phone. So if you're not taking the phone payment, I was out one time and I inadvertently left my wallet at home, and I had to like tell one of my friends. I was like, dude, I was treating you for lunch, and I'll just Zelle you the money like right now, but you got to pay because they placed it in take Apple Pay in a restaurant of
Right,
all.
right.
It's crazy. Like it's just you're going to lose customers because customers are going to either they're just going to go, oh, I'm not coming back to this place, or because you didn't have the form of payment that they wanted to pay. During the pandemic, one thing that was really popular was a lot of businesses trying to take Cash App, Venmo, and Zelle. And then the IRS, put that rule in about the $800. So now tons of businesses who thought, oh, I'm skating by for the last few years, taking these alternative payment methods, all of a sudden, boom, they're getting 1099s. They're getting audited by the IRS. Hey, this company reported that you received more than $800. It used to be like a $20,000 threshold, and now they're looking at like how many transactions did they do in a month and things like that, and then that's getting reported. There's a lot of there's a lot of problems out there, especially like generally with like cash, right? We have businesses that take cash and they have problems with their bank. The banks don't have the amount, they don't want you walking in anymore with like a bunch of cash and handing it to the teller and go, okay, here's a bunch of cash. Now I need all this change back. They want you to deposit in your account. Then you have to withdraw the change.
Even if you're just depositing it, I went to the bank to open a bank account for my daughter after we had like a christening party for her, whatever, and everyone's giving cash and all this stuff, and is just putting like, I don't know, a couple $1,000s into her account in all different, bills. They looked at me like they asking me, "What do you do for a living?" And all that kind of stuff. Just because I was just trying to deposit. I wasn't even asking to take anything out of there.
Yeah, cash has become like a big, they're really looking at like what are a lot of banks don't want to deal with cash. I mean, we have a product for that too. We have treasury management services where you can have a smart safe in your office, and then you can take your cash, and instead of taking it to the bank, you drop it in the safe, and you tell the safe you have to scan like a barcode on the bag, and you tell the safe, oh, I put $4,876 in there. You tell it on the software, you put it in the safe, and at the end of the day, it goes electronically to your bank account. And once a week, the armored car comes by, picks up all the cash, and verifies it. But you've already got the money. So a lot of businesses have been opting for that handle a ton of cash.
Yeah, no, I mean that's great because it takes a lot of the risk out of sending it over to the bank and everything there too. And
You don't want your employee driving around with cash, you know. Even at malls, my son works at the mall, and he said they installed some service in the mall, like it's in the area where only the employees can go, so you don't have to go into the actual mall, and you can go like through a back, go into this employee area, and he scans a barcode, puts in how much money it is, and drops it in the safe, and that money gets deposited to the company's bank account.
yeah, I find it funny and fascinating at the same time of all the everyone trying to go cashless and stuff. I remember I took the kids to SeaWorld last year, and or I should say probably a few months ago, but they're we are a cashless facility. Then they have these ATMs all over the place that you put cash in and you get a card that you can spend at places. And then you go to the place and you go to spend the card and they say, oh, we put a 3% transaction fee on all card transactions. But they forced you to use the card to do it. So it's in some ways crazy the lengths people go through.
That's kind of nuts.
Yeah.
On an internal card that's their card.
Yeah, it's like you put cash to get the card, or you could use a credit card, but then they charge you a fee for using the card, but then you can't pay with cash even if you wanted to. So you're like forced to pay these fees. So I don't understand why they didn't just mark up everything another, 2-3% and just this is the price of the item over here. But
Yeah, businesses have to think about that. Like, what's the, what? How are you going to do it? Are you going to charge people a fee, or you're just going to up your prices, and then you have to figure out what's your business model. And also it depends on competition. You're in somewhere like SeaWorld, you can't tell your kids no.
Right,
I
right.
have big kids now, but I've been there, so I know, when you can't tell your kids, oh no, I'm not buying you that.
Yeah, right.
You
Yeah.
have
No,
to just do it, bite the bullet.
right. No, they're at the age where there's a lot of screaming and tantrums that happen if you don't. You're better off to say, you know what? Yes, it's $25 for a whale plushie. I'll just get the whale plushie.
Exactly. No, that's, it's important. It's important. Business. Another thing that people now has become like a big subject is cryptocurrency. So, you know, hopefully, we see change with Trump as president, and they take away the before before Biden. If you spent crypto, there was no tax on spending your crypto. There was there wasn't like a tax on it. Sure, there was capital gains on your crypto account, but there wasn't a tax for using it transactionally. And now there's a tax to do it transactionally. So it doesn't really make sense for people to transact in crypto. Although in Europe they transact with it big time, especially cross border. And hopefully they can bring that back, because there's people that they want to take that crypto and they want to spend it on goods and services.
Yeah, especially since, yeah, I mean, if you think about even just like Bitcoin, right? They're fairly high transaction fees to go and use it for something. So now you're paying a transaction fee, and now you're paying a tax on top of the transaction fee, and it all adds up to something a lot, a lot more than just what you think you're.
Well, it's like a 30% tax. So that's why people aren't spending it. Or you hear people, oh, just get a cold wallet. I don't know if you can just, I don't know if I don't know for sure, like someone with a cold wallet versus a hot wallet on Coinbase is circumventing the system.
Right. Yeah, I mean, at some point you got to look at, is all the time and effort invested into doing all that, even worth what it is, you're trying to get with it.
Well, you always hear about, decoupleization of DeFi, and, I think we're way, way off from, from that. The same thing with like open banking, we're not close to that either. Or, things like you hear about Fed now, instantaneous funds, and, that's not there yet either, but, we're getting closer.
Yeah. Now, in terms of the payments, I'm assuming that your company does take, like, you have a platform to take crypto payments, or.
We were working with a company, but it kind of really slowed. That kind of like stopped because people just weren't using it anymore. Once the tax part got started, people were like, well, that's kind of like double taxing me, because I'm paying tax on when I take it out, right? Now I'm going to pay tax on the transaction. It's kind of like double taxing. I don't agree with that double taxation. It's a little crazy.
Yeah, no, I agree. I remember when at first people started doing crypto payments. Every site was, well, we'll take Bitcoin, we'll take this, we'll take that, and you don't see so much of it anymore. I guess it's, to your point of, just the demand of people looking to use it now has somewhat dropped off, just due to those reasons you talked about over there, but yeah, I mean, to your point on why we should go, there's obviously groups of people that different demographics. It could be older, younger, that like to pay certain ways, and it's in your best interest as a business to be where your customers are, to take the payment that they're expecting to pay with, so that way it's just going to reduce your chances of losing a sale just because someone wanted to pay with their phone rather than pull out a card to pay with.
I remember we had this chain of stores they went out of business. But when we were installing their equipment, we're like, oh, now you can take Apple Pay. And the owner said to me, there is no way anybody's using Apple Pay in my store. I'm like, you have the perfect demographic. It's a young person's business. And I remember going into the system at the end of like the third month they had it in there and showed them that like 50% of their credit card transactions were Apple Pay. The guy was shocked. Or Google Pay. He was like, that's crazy because people are paying with their phone. I'm like, yeah, these people are just not carrying a wallet, you know?
Yeah, or even just you get a credit card from the store, you get your general credit card, maybe you have a backup one. You might have 6 7 credit cards in your wallet, and you're carrying something that's this thick over here. You just want to, hey, on my phone I could just swipe to whichever card I want to use the right one. I don't have to remember whether or not I left it at home versus brought it. Now it expired, and I have the expired one and forgot to activate the new one. It's there's a lot of convenience involved in all that as well.
Another thing, with businesses too is like buy now, pay later has become like huge topic of, businesses trying to use buy now, pay later. Although those companies are being policed a lot more by the government because they weren't really like following. They were like, well, it's either it's a loan or a credit card. Which one do you want to be? And then to kind of decide, well, we're going to be a credit card. Okay, well, if you're a credit card, then you got to follow the credit card rules. you know because most of them were trying to do like micro loans, but they kind of put the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau said, no, you can't do that anymore. You need to be, if you're issuing credit, you got to be the same as a credit card. So, they were, those, a lot of those companies weren't checking people's credit and letting people get way overextended.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's another thing you have to watch out for too, because not a lot of those terms are easily transparent. In there, I remember a month after I bought my house, the central air conditioning blew out, and of course, they came and they said, "Oh, you got to replace everything because the refrigerant that yours uses is the old one that you can't get anymore, and all that. So you got to replace everything." I said, "Oh, but we got this great buy now, pay later, kind of thing where it costs you nothing and you just make payments, over the next 12 months, and and you're good. It's interest free." Okay, great. So I get the bill, and I said, all right, well, if I spent $400 a month or whatever you guys put on the thing over there, I'm not paid off in 12 months, and then there's a 30% APR on the transaction over there. So I better make sure that that I pay what actually has to be paid to pay this thing off to get it interest free versus paying what you guys are telling me that I need to pay over the next 12 months.
Yeah, you definitely, people need to watch out for like what they're paying, like even on credit cards. I get my bill sometimes. I mean, I pay it off every month, but I look on there like 27%. It's crazy. How can people afford to carry a balance at 27%? It's nuts. No, but that's one thing like we really try to focus on with our clientele is that our pricing is very transparent. We make sure that they get an easy to read statement. They know what they paid
Right.
for. They have a question, they send us an email. Hey, how come we got charged for this, or how come we got charged for that? Like, there's one thing everybody hates: PCI compliance, right? I tell people, like, look on your bill. Are you paying a non-compliance fee for PCI compliance? If you are, you need to like go log into the portal and do your PCI compliance, spend 10 minutes. Oh, I don't know how to fill it out. Call the phone number. Literally, the person on the other end will walk you through the whole process. We can't do it because they do it now with these like random questions. So we have no idea what the random question would be. But the guy on the phone knows because he's looking at your account, you know, and then saying, oh, answer it this way, answer it that way, click, click, click. Because once you do it one time, you're done. Then the next year, you just go in, you hit, oh, renew. Anything changed? No. Everything's the same? Yes. boom, done. So you don't have to pay like a non-compliance fee. I mean, I've seen people's bills and they're getting billed $100, $200 a month for non-compliance.
Yeah. No, that I mean that's a lot. I mean, and I was just gonna say before that, talking about transparent, fees, percentages, talking. I know we talked a little about crypto before all that. I remember when Coinbase first came out and they let you buy some crypto on your credit card. I remember I bought it. Everything was great. The next month I said I'll buy another $100 or whatever it was, and then they changed the rules where they treated it as a cash advance rather than as as a credit card.
Oof, ouch.
And so I check my bill the next month and I see that I had like a $50 interest charge on $100 crypto purchase. And I called them up. I said, "What happened?" They said, "Oh, we changed the rules. This is now a cash advance." And then in order to get rid of that interest charge, you can't just pay off the $100 that I paid on the on the crypto over there. You got to pay your entire bill, and then they still hit you with interest charge. It took like 3 months to go and sort out a $100 purchase over there.
That's crazy.
So,
Usually, when you're paying your bill, like a lot of credit card companies will say, "Oh, there's a cash advance here. Do you want to pay this off now?" And you just click the button and pay that one item off.
no, they were like the way that it works is when you make a payment, it pays from the lowest interest rate to the highest interest rate. So you just say I paid off my bill. You only paid off the part that's zero interest. And the only way that you could do it, you have to instead of just paying the statement balance, you have to pay the whole balance of the credit card to get everything off of there. Then, because it was like 2 days before the end of the month or something like that, it hit me with interest charges the next month and I had to call them back again to go and reverse. Though it was such a hassle. So, to your point of, making sure things are transparent and, easy for people to know what it is they're spending and all that, you could get into to a lot of trouble with, with all these interest payments, hidden this, hidden that. You got these buy it now, pay later programs that are on, things as small as like $20.
Yeah, $2 a month for 10 months.
Right. And it's like, all right. I mean, if I've got to pay $2 a month for 10 months, if I can't afford $20, I probably shouldn't be buying this item over here. But yeah, I know we're getting close to the end of time over here, but really appreciate you being on the show. Like I said before, just highly encourage our viewers to comment, subscribe to the channel. You should check out Allen's podcast as well. And if you're looking to reduce any of your payments, charges, any of that, make sure that you reach out to Allen. Allen's great having you on the show. What's the best place for people to get in contact with you?
You can go to the website, nationwidepaymentsystems.com, or you can link up with me on LinkedIn. Send me a connection request, send a message. You can link up over there. You can, I post all my blogs over there so you can see what we're blogging about. And, happy to answer any questions. We allow people to book a free consultation. Just talk about your business, what your goals are, how to, things that you need to do. We review people's statements, review your business policies, everything. That's kind of like what we do. It's a full review, like you're sitting down with your financial planner.
Right. Right. Your payment planner.
Yeah, your payment plan. Listen, you'd be surprised. If your business is not on the right SIC code, you could be paying higher interchange fees. We don't make money from interchange, so I say we don't care. So we're going to make sure your business is qualifying for the best interchange categories because we don't get paid for that. All that money goes back to the card issuing banks. Doesn't even go to Visa and MasterCard. No, it doesn't. That just goes right back to the bank that issued that card.
Yeah, no, highly encouraged. We'll put the links to your site. We'll put a link to your LinkedIn in the description here so that it's easy for everyone to check it out. Alan, I know I learned a lot from this. I'm sure our audience has as well. Really appreciate you having you on the show over here.
Yeah, thanks for having me on the podcast today, Daniels. Enjoyed it. Great discussion.